I'm sure everyone has heard of the Vikings, those Scandinavian trailblazers who once wreaked mayhem on a vast area of the world back in their day. Things are gonna get Valhallic, so grab your war axe and prepare to embark on a perilous journey with us as we learn about the Viking invasion of Paris, 885 through 886. So who are the Vikings? Vikings are a contemporary moniker for a group of maritime people from Scandinavia, modern-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, who raided, plundered, traded, and settled throughout Europe from the late 8th to 11th centuries. They raided and settled in several of these nations. The Viking Age is a popular name for this period, and the term Viking is often used to refer to all residents of the Scandinavian homelands. Scandinavia, the British Isles, France, Estonia, and Kievan Rus had a significant effect on early medieval history. They went for numerous conquests during this age and especially had a significant influence on medieval Europe. You can say that they were quite a menace to the world. One of the conquests made by the Vikings was the Siege of Paris of 885 to 886. The old Charlemagne Empire was on the verge of collapse in the late 9th century during the height of the Viking Age. The Carolingian rulers had become weak and could no longer stop Viking marauders plundering France. Siegfried, a Danish chieftain, takes his attacks to the next level in 885, targeting Paris. However, Bishop Jocelyn and the Count of Paris, Odo, led the residents of Paris, two brave men in the worst of times. A Viking army headed by Siegfried of Denmark sailed up to the city walls of Paris in November 885. By this time, the Danes anticipated small resistance from the Carolingians and a speedy surrender. Siegfried saw Jocelyn, the Bishop of Paris, the next day. He requested that his Vikings be permitted to travel upstream and ravage the French countryside. In exchange, Siegfried promised to depart Paris unharmed. When this church leader denied the Viking chieftain's requests, he was astounded. Bishop Jocelyn was tasked by King Charles with safeguarding the city and did not want to jeopardize his loyalty. King Charles, referenced by Jocelyn, was Charles the Fat. King Charles had failed to defend France against Viking raids, and the stakes for Paris were even higher. The citizens were fully aware that their emperor would be unsupportive. If he were denied access, Siegfried threatened Jocelyn that their war machines would slaughter and annihilate them with poisoned arrows. Siegfried planned to scare Jocelyn into submission, but he was let down. The bishop had spent years reinforcing Paris's defenses in anticipation of future Viking raids. When the Carolingian rulers were corrupt and cowardly, Jocelyn was a bishop dedicated to the safety of his people and his city. The Ile de la Cité, a long, narrow island in the Seine, was home to Paris. The island was well defended, making it a tough target for the Vikings. The city was connected to the north side of the river by the Grand Pont, defended by a half-constructed stone tower. A smaller bridge, the Petit Pont, connected the city to the south bank and was guarded by a wooden tower. These two bridges completely regulated river navigation. The Vikings would have to breach these defenses to continue their raiding expedition. In Paris, the bishop was not the sole strong leader. The military actions against the Danes were headed by Count Odo, son of Robert the Strong. Odo was chosen to fill the leadership vacuum caused by the decline of the Carolingian rulers. Odo's garrison had just 200 men, but as the bishop, he was tenacious and against all odds. They were able to repel the Danes' siege equipment by equipping the walls of Paris with ballistas. Siegfried launched his assault at daybreak and the entire city crowd roared. To defend the tower, people stood up and united together. The Christians battled valiantly, encouraged by their commander's valor. Jocelyn's priesthood vow against shedding blood was overridden in this difficult situation, and he used a bow to fire arrows at the invading forces. The Danes fled as darkness struck, dragging their dead behind them. The tower was repaired by Odo and the bishop, who also erected an extra story, which surprised the Danes the next day. The Vikings then attempted to penetrate by excavating beneath the tower's foundation, but the Franks replied by pouring boiling oil down on them. In October of that year, the Imperial army arrived and dispersed the Vikings. Encircling the Viking force, Charles established a camp at Montmartre. Charles, on the other hand, had no intention of fighting. He let the Vikings travel up the Seine, ravaging Burgundy, which was revolting. The emperor merely initiated negotiations with the Vikings, much to the chagrin of the defenders. Surprisingly, Charles gave the Vikings exactly what they had asked for: permission to sail through Paris and plunder the Burgundians. The Paris defenders were appalled. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.